How's everybody doing? So today, I'm going to be talking about the didgeridoo. The didgeridoo originates in Australia. It's the Aboriginal instrument of the country. The oldest evidence that we have for didgeridoos and the Aborigines playing these instruments was from cave paintings that date back to around 2,000 years ago. But many people believe that the Aboriginal culture is as old as 40,000 years old. So here we're talking about the world's oldest wind instrument. A quick story of how I began to pursue this instrument seriously. She mentioned that my dad played, and that's how I got introduced to it. But after a long period of time, I didn't really take it so seriously until I went to a music camp in Nashville, Tennessee, run by a great musician, great bass player, Victor Wooten. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. And when I went there, everyone was really good at playing at least 2 or 3 instruments, and I was only there playing bass, so I wanted to step my game up. And I spent some time thinking about what I wanted to play, and it had passed through my mind to play the didgeridoo, but I didn't entertain the idea seriously until about a week after returning home from the camp. I was on Facebook, and I was scrolling down, and there was an advertisement on the side that said, "Victor Wooten jams with didgeridoo players from Australia." I used to think it was fate or destiny. Now I just realized it was target advertising, but... But yeah, and then that led me to a video of them playing, and that led me to a website where I got my first didgeridoo, and then it's been a very fun musical journey from there. The didgeridoo is very different than most instruments because it only has one fundamental note, and there's no finger holes in this. It's just a cone, one end out the other. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate some of the techniques that are used to play the didgeridoo, and then after I show you those, I'll play, and hopefully, having explained those techniques, you'll get a good idea of how I do what I do. So the first basic sound of the didgeridoo is called the drone. And it's called a drone because it's only one note. But you have a lot of sub-pitches within that one note. So by buzzing my lips, like, I can do that on the instrument, and I produce the sound. Then by using different parts of my mouth and doing different things, I can change and alter that one fundamental sound. So the first thing I might do is do some stuff with my tongue, and that kind of relates to the actual human voice and speaking. If you think of the vowels that we have, A, E, I, O, U, your tongue is in different positions to produce those different vowels. So when I started learning how to play didgeridoo, that was one of the first things I started doing, was producing the vowels with that drone note. So that's tongue movement. Then you can do different things with your voice. You can play the drone note, which without the voice sounds like this. But then if I add my voice to that in different registers, you can produce a lot of different sounds just by doing that. So some of these things are used in, well, all of them are used in both traditional and contemporary didgeridoo playing. I'm a contemporary player. I'm not Australian, and I'm not Aborigine, and I don't play traditional music, although I have the utmost respect for it. But I'm a contemporary player. But I can say a few things about the traditional style of playing. A lot of what they do is imitating animal noises. So what I mentioned about using your tongue, they might do that to represent kangaroo. And then they would have the little Joey running after the mama. And using the voice, they might do something to imitate the kookaburra, which in Australia is known as the laughing bird. And they would use those animal noises to tell a story. In contemporary music, it's more about the music than the story. So when I use those noises, I'm not necessarily telling a story, but I use it to add to the articulations and the dynamics of the music. The didgeridoo is very well known for its unique technique called circular breathing. Circular breathing, to break it down, is basically inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth at the same time. So how do you do that? Basically, if you're just playing the instrument, any wind instrument, you're using your diaphragm and your lungs to blow the air out. But you can only do that for so long before you run out of air. So the idea of circular breathing is to get a second air reserve to produce the sound. So you have a second place for the air to expel from. So if it's not your lungs and your diaphragm, it's your cheeks. So what I do is I fill my cheeks up with air, and then I use my cheek muscles to push that air out. And when the cheeks are pushing the air out and not the lungs and the diaphragm, your lungs are free to take a quick breath in. And being able to circular breathe opens up the world of didgeridoo playing. It's very somewhat limited if circular breathing isn't a part of it, but once you add the circular breathing, you could theoretically play forever. So I'm going to play 2 different didgeridoos and represent 2 different styles. This didgeridoo is made out of Australian eucalyptus, hollowed out by termites with a beeswax mouthpiece. And I'm going to use this to kind of represent what people might traditionally think a didgeridoo sounds like, very drone style, perhaps to some people somewhat monotonous, but it's really a lot more than that. So I'm going to play this and play more of a laid-back drone style, and then I'm going to play this one, which is made out of aluminum, 2 very different instruments, even though they're both didgeridoos. And on this one, I'm going to play the more contemporary style that a lot of people play today. So that style is commonly associated with being somewhat meditative. Some meditation classes might use didgeridoo and play that sort of style in the background. And one thing I should mention before I go on is the circular breathing technique has medical benefits as well. Some of you might know of obstructive sleep apnea, which is when the soft tissues in your throat collapse on themselves and restrict your airflow while you sleep. And for some people, this is a very big issue, and some people have to sleep with a machine pumping air into them, and some people die from it. It's been researched and proven that playing the didgeridoo and circular breathing strengthens your throat muscles and opens up your airways to prevent obstructive sleep apnea from hurting you. And so some people who have a big issue with this and have to sleep with a machine play didgeridoo, learn how to circularly breathe, and they play for a few months, and they're, for the most part, cured, and they don't really have to sleep with a machine anymore. So I've taught some people who have obstructive sleep apnea, and they've said that they've had positive results, and it's helped them a lot. So now I'm going to play the aluminum didgeridoo, and I'm going to play a more contemporary style. And I think you'll find that it's very different from what I just played. Thank you very much. I'm Joe Schultz. This is the Didgeridoo. Thank you.